Hi. So update time. It's Stacy here. I wanted to let everybody know I'm probably going to do this in 2 videos. The first video is I want to explain some of my posts for the last 2 years. From 2013 to 2014, I did 2 different Facebook accounts, and I know at least one person commented that my post made no sense, and it was very upsetting that she said this, and I unfriended her, and I apologize. Maybe you know who you are. The reason for that is that I was in an abusive relationship, an emotionally abusive relationship. A few people made comments, very, are you okay? And I was like, oh, yeah. It's just, he's this, it's that. He's working on his life. And one person was was vocal and then got more vocal. Esther, thank you. Because I'm a very strong person, nobody wanted to offend me, and they trusted that I knew what I was doing. I appreciate your respect for me. My message is if you know or you suspect that somebody is in an unhealthy relationship, be vocal, shake that person, and gather their friends up and do an intervention. I love you all. Thank you so much for your, gentle proddings and questioning. And yes, I am stubborn and can be ridiculous. I hadn't dated anybody since the divorce, so I really had no idea what was normal and what was not. So for the year of 2013, I apologize for my weird posts and the different Facebook things back and forth, but that was that. So January of 2014, I finally couldn't handle it anymore, and I did break up. And we had broken up, gotten back together 1,000,000 times. That's sign 1. There's something not healthy. So that particular night, I was just like, I'm done. The key to me was when a stranger at the ale house said, "Why are you with him?" And at one point said, "No, honey, don't answer that question. That's demeaning." And I was like, you're right. Why am I putting up with this? I deserve better. So I ended up getting a migraine. And through phone calls back and forth of just him being degrading and disgusting and calling me N-word names and repulsive names, I didn't have any more migraine meds. So I was like, do you have my migraines? My migraine meds. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Blah, 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 blah. Fill in the blanks with ugly names. So he shows up and I'm like, do you have my meds? Next thing I knew, he pushed himself in the door, and I won't get into the nitty-gritty details. I will say that the first moment was me being slapped across both sides of my face quite horrifically, in a way that I've never been before, and that's not me. And I was strangled on several, not to death, on several occasions. I had a screwdriver put to my neck. There were several instances of sexual assaults, inappropriate touching and sexual assault. In the legal world, it's not called rape. There was great insanity in his mind as the mood switched from "I'm going to kill you, you won't make it through the night," to the very next moment of I love you, please forgive me. I did witness to him of how God loves him, Jesus loves him, and I do realize that there are many, many women who are physically hurt a lot more than I was. I used to judge women who were in domestic violence situations, and I never understood how they put themselves in that position. Boy, what a learning curve. I am sharing this all with you. I know many of you know it. Some of you might have figured it out. I am sharing this with you very openly because, one, this is how I operate, and I had to wait for the court proceedings to be over with. I used to judge, maybe not judge, but kind of go, oh, that would never happen to me. The reality is, it's about 1 in 4 women, 1 in 5, depending on what you read, and 1 in 6 men are in an abusive relationship. Men are also in emotionally domestic violent relationships. Doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. And interestingly, transgendered relationships have the highest statistics. So it's very important that we as a society talk about this issue, and that we as a society don't hide it, or at least educate each other and become aware of the signs. Many survivors, and I'm not going to say victim, I abhor that word. There's one thing that I ask that you come away with this, is to no longer say victim. Anybody who's been through one instance of domestic violence or sexual assault, you are a survivor. If you are still in it, or you've come away from a long relationship, you are a survivor. Whatever you had to do to survive, fought back, laid still. In my case, I tried to laugh. I tried to get him to laugh because laughter is always kind of my defense and my go-to method. Whatever you had to do, you're still with us. You're still breathing, and you survived. Bravo. So when you encounter someone who has survived, they may not tell you. Most don't. Survivors almost always, naturally, instinctively, feel shame. The first time I was sexually assaulted at 14, the first time, I felt shame. And I hid it, and I didn't say anything. I was all tough. I kept it quiet. The first time I shared it with somebody was my ex-husband, who was young. He was just 20. And he told me I was crazy. I was crying hysterically, and I was crazy. Then I kept it quiet again for many years, and I've got it all under control. And then I met somebody who reminded me of my attacker, and I had flashbacks. So I knew that this time I needed to take care of it very quickly. And I didn't feel shame because I recently, a few years earlier, had therapy. And I knew that I did nothing wrong. So this has been a very difficult year, 13 months, to go through the judicial process, to prosecute. I wanted to run. I was in fear of my life. And I wanted to run away. And I'm very blessed that I had many people I could run to. I could run away to Israel. Thank you, Matt and Ronnie. I could run away to Massachusetts. Thank you, Rissa and her beautiful, sweet husband, Frank, and their sweet children. Thank you, Aaron in Texas. I could go on and on. I'm very blessed, Flora in North Carolina. I probably had about 10 people who opened up their homes to me. And I stood fast that I needed to stay to be available should I have to go to court last minute. Turns out that we needed to settle for a misdemeanor because his witness, who was committing perjury, was calling me a liar. And even though she was lying, it would have been a, she's lying, she's lying. And we were not allowed to present evidence of his abuse against me. That is not allowed. But evidence that I was setting him up, falsely or not, that could have tainted the jury, that I would have looked like I was setting him up. The fear and the logic is that if it was a not guilty, that would have been more harmful and painful to me than a misdemeanor. It's very hard to understand, and getting the misdemeanor news in November completely gutted and devastated me, and whatever progress I made, I lost it. I wanted to go to court. I wanted to have my day in court. I wanted to fight by golly. I spoke with the prosecutor today for about 10 minutes, and I understood better where she was coming from. And based on her experience, it is very, very hard to hear that not guilty, harder than the misdemeanor. So when I had my victim's impact statement today, I did receive a small monetary fund, for my missing work for basically a year because I couldn't function. And I did my victim's impact statement. And I did write something down about how this has affected me. And being me, I went off what I'd written. I read a little bit, and then I spoke extemporaneously, because that's what I do. And I wrote and I talked about how it destroyed me, and I will never be the same. And I met him days after coming back from a solo trip around the world. And I was alone, and so many people, so many you have all said, this is so brave. And now I'm scared to go out to eat by myself. And I've lived my life this last year in a duality of fear and fight. I'm kind of paraphrasing what I said now, but that I've lived my life this past year in a duality of fear and fight. Because I'm so scared. And I'm so scared. And it's so hard for me. But I want to fight for what is right. Because I knew I was not the first. And I want it on record. Because I knew I wouldn't be the last. And that I don't know who I am. And that woman that went on that trip. And that, and then I went off script and I talked about how I had the firecracker explosion on me in Chiang Mai, and everybody thought how horrible it was. And I said, oh no, people are so beautiful and kind, and they shared so much love. And I said, I don't know where she is anymore. I'm so often afraid of meeting new people. I forced myself. And I said, I forgive them. And I do. Because I don't want to be that mean and bitter person, and someone very wise told me that I don't want to hold that hatred in my heart, because that would deny the person that I am, and I don't want to be like him. Thank you, Brandon, for those words, and for that, constantly telling me that so I could keep my kind heart. And I told the judge how, I go through and I might smile, and I said that, he killed me. He killed who I was. And I might smile, and I might be standing here breathing, and I'll put on my smile. But inside I'm dead. And at my lowest points, I'm the funniest person you ever meet. And I get why Robin Williams killed himself. Because I'll be really funny. I'll be hysterical, you know. I'll go in a grocery store and talk to somebody and be really funny, and then I sit in my car and I cry. Or, you know, I'll do what I have to do to put on my face, my public face, and then I'll go home and silently wail where only angels and demons can hear it. And that's true. Because it's so hard to put up that fight when you're so afraid after going through that trauma of the assault and actually the whole year before, not realizing how messed up he messed me up. And then I took a breath and I said, there's a small ember of that woman that I once was that's burning inside of me. And she wants to find that joy of life again. And that fight again to do what is right and to find the love of life. And I'm not there yet, but I will find myself again, and I will find a stronger person. And it's hard to explain what this feels like to be so assaulted. And it seems like only people who've gone through it can understand it. And in True Blood, the vampires, when they die, they just blow up and get exploded into just globs. And that's what it feels like. And so I try to just pick up my little blobs and, you know, put it all together again. And I said, but this little ember grows. And I'm gonna get better, and I'm gonna get stronger. And I will. Because I believe in love. And I believe that love conquers all. And I have the Lord on my side who loves me. And I have a beautiful family that loves me. And I have beautiful friends that love me. And I've often told, you know, I am supposed to say his name because calling him fuck shit apparently blocks my healing. So I'm just going to call him Bob so he won't somehow say I'm like, you know, defaming him. So Bob, you know, he's a bitter person, very bitter. And I always told him, do not mistake my kindness for weakness, because I may be a little down right now, but that little ember's growing, and I'm going to be okay. And then I looked at the Judge Nelson, and I said, and I would like to thank you, Your Honor, and I would like to thank Elizabeth Ramirez. Well, I said I'd like to thank Seminole County for the Survivors of Sexual Assault group that I go to, because that has been a godsend and has been an amazing source of strength and very helpful for me. And I would like to thank Seminole County for providing that, and I hope you continue in that provision. And I said, and I went on to say, I hope that everyone involved in the justice system of Seminole County takes the time to educate themselves on the psychological and emotional damage. And I make a point to look at the defense table. I mean, I looked everywhere, but I made a point to look at the defense attorney because he's just disgusts me. So to say that you educate yourself on what this does psychologically and emotionally to the survivor. And it is incredibly stressful and damaging to their whole person. And we need to talk about this as a society. We need to let society know that there is no shame in being a survivor, so that when there is a jury, you don't have that person sitting there going, what did she wear to cause that to happen to her? Because that's wrong. There is no shame in being a survivor of domestic violence, of sexual assault. There is no shame. There needs to be no more excuses, no more shame, no more boys will be boys, no more, oh, well, he's drunk. There needs to be no more. Break the cycle, break the excuses. We as a country need to talk about this subject. We need to take it out of the proverbial closet, and we need to address it. If you know somebody involved in a domestic violence relationship, get the help. Learn how to help her or him. Domestic violence and sexual assault can happen in a relationship. It can happen if you're wealthy, if you're middle class, if you're poor. It can happen if you're man or woman, straight or gay. I ask you to go to nomore.org. Educate yourself, help your friends, help your family. No more. That is why I'm doing this. This is not about me. This is not about my survival. This is not about me. Other than I love you all for sticking by me. I fought through the prosecution system to try to get it on record so that the next person he helps that does prosecute will have a better chance of making it stick. I'm doing this video to open the dialogue. And I ask, I beg, I plead. Go to nomore.org. Educate yourself. Educate your loved ones. If you have teenagers, watch the videos. Open the dialogue. If you are looking at this and there's a part of you that's feeling queasy, ask yourself, am I in a relationship that's not right? Or am I an abuser and that's why this is making me uncomfortable? If either of those apply, get help. It's not too late. And know this: no more.